getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors League. This is the 11th and final round of this season, coming to you today from Montreal. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, the cap-off was been an amazing season of Spec Racer Ford action in the 10th anniversary season. We head off to a track that feels like a bit of an oddity, really, on the iRacing platform. This scan of Montreal on a track that, just generally speaking in real life, is always a bit peculiar, is so old. It is an ancient scan, one of the oldest, in fact, left on iRacing. Couple that with cars that don't usually run around here, I think this is a venture off into the unknown if we have seen it thus far this season.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. I think this is something that is a bit of an oddball for this league. And we'll get more into the aspects of this track as we move along. But yeah, it's going to be. I think it's still going to be a good race. Obviously, we've got a nice field today, 35-ish cars that are going to be competing. So a nice big grid, which will make things, I think, even a little more challenging.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a challenging race for these racers. I think that's probably the best word that we can sum it up before we get too nose deep into this. Let's take a look, though, at the championship point standings as we head off into the season finale round here today. Not a lot to talk about when it comes to some classes. However, here in Spec 1, Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton covered by just 10 points. Look at that gap. Now, with drop rounds and everything, I feel like it will slightly favor Nathaniel Schramm, but Kane Halliburton has got some drops as well, so really interesting to see how things are going to work out in that battle for the championship win in Spec 1. Jason Green is slotted in third, with Joshua Justice in fourth, a real-life Spec Racer 4 driver, and Dirk Braun, the other graduate to Spec 1 after winning last season's Spec 2 title, is slotted in fifth, a little bit farther back than the main drivers comprising the rest of your top five, but still a pretty darn good season for him anyways. Taking a look now at Spec 2, where things are definitely in the camp for Alexander Gorson to walk away with the crown there. 654 points is his current tally. Compared to that to Dmitry Lukinov at 584. He's in P2 with Matt Thompson, Paul Jackson, and Daniel Wood completing your top five in class. Now we'll also take a look at Masters, where Jörg Mani is holding on to a very, very comfortable margin at the moment. 622 points his present tally, well clear of Chris Thorpe, slotted at second at 482. Brad Cathcart isn't too far behind, though, at 469, so that may be a battle for second in the Masters points, with Antonio Reese and Kurt Nunez rounding out to your top five in the Masters category. That's how it looks in the championship points here. Charles, this is going to be a tricky race for these racers, so I think these keys are going to matter just as much for us as it will be for those racers out there on the road.
Yeah, I think you're right. Today's keys to the race are pretty straightforward. There's going to be, obviously, there's several long straights on this track that's going to be great for the draft here. Even some of these, some of these that are not so straight with these long sweepers, these cars are going to be pretty much flat out. So they'll be able to generate quite a bit of drafting through the course of this race. Key number two, this is a pretty tight track. There are some open spots, but for the most part, it's basically two lanes for a lot of this, and the corners are even tighter. That's going to make things very, very difficult as far as battling side by side. You're probably going to see lots of contact amongst the cars today. And then finally, don't be a champion. We all want to be a champion, but obviously when we're talking about Montreal, you're talking about the wall of champions specifically, and it's a couple of these chicanes here that the outside wall just seems like it leaps out and grabs the side of your car. If you hit that too hard, you're going to do some damage. It's going to ruin your race pretty much as you get wheel and suspension damage from smacking those outside walls, which are just basically concrete walls. Not a lot of protection there, and it's going to make things very challenging getting through chicanes and getting out of corners.
Yeah, there's really no give around this racetrack. You just got to run at 10/10 all the time. If it goes well for you, it'll go fantastic. If not, you may be in for a little bit of trouble. About 5 minutes left to go here in qualifying time, still being set on the board. But before we get too far off into crunch time, I want to once again let you know that we have had the privilege all season long here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors to have these broadcasts made possible by the absolutely fine folks over at Metro Auto Rebuild. And it's been a privilege throughout this entire season, but want to let you know once again that when it comes to repairing your vehicle after an accident, you'll hear a lot of different terms thrown around, like aftermarket or reconditioned parts, blended within the panel, spot refinish, direct repair program. The list really goes on and on. Before we make any final decisions, though, ask them the true definition of those words. In most cases, they may not be the best thing for your car. If you want your vehicle repaired using factory methods and specifications with OEM required tools and equipment, depend on the professionals at Metro Auto Rebuild. We'll give you honest answers about the repair process, your rights, and your responsibilities. You want someone who's there with you every single step of the way. They'll get you back on the road safely, timely, and with their guarantee that you will love their workmanship. Please let them answer any questions you have about the repair process. They're here to answer your questions about estimates, insurance company coordination, and billing, as well as rental car coordination too. Visit their website anytime at metroautorebuild.com. We'd like to thank Metro Auto Rebuild for sponsoring this season of Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action, because we've had a fantastic season, lots of different winners, even in the top category of Spec 1, where you usually expect things to be a bit more fine-tuned. it's been really up in the air. We have had so many different winners throughout this season that really picking a championship favorite was hard to do. But this is going to be a tough race. And let's kind of underscore that challenge, Charles. I'll jump to you to do an onboard lap here of Montreal.
Yeah, let's get this going as we get past the start-finish line. We're going to dive down here into the first little trouble section. This is turn 1 and turn 2. Turn 2 is going to have the pit exit on the left-hand side. You're going to have to be careful of that as we get toward the pit cycle. As we get a good rollout, we're going to run down this long straightaway. As you can see, the car's just building up some speed there. And we're going to dive down into this first chicane. This is probably 3 and 4. As we roll through, as you can see, very, very difficult there. You do have that outside wall to deal with. And as we roll around here, we're going to move to this left-hander. It kind of switches back into the right, back down another straightaway, and we'll get ready for our next little run down before we head down into the next chicane. And this is where the trouble starts as we get a little further down here. You see how this how they have to get a good slow down. This chicane a little more open than the first one, but still very, very treacherous, especially if you're battling too wide. Get a nice little short straight here. We head down into the hairpin corner at the back half of the circuit. And this is very difficult because you got to really be patient with this. It's real easy to lock the brakes up and run wide. It's real easy to get on the throttle too early and smack that outside wall as the car understeers back on power. Once you get done with that, one more segment of straightaway here, and this actually is the run down into pit entry. Also another little trouble spot. It's a nice long run, lots of drafting. You're going to have a good chance to outbrake somebody going into that chicane. But if anybody in front of you decides they're going to run through the pits, it's going to kind of screw your braking line up a little bit because they're going to go a little bit deeper than you. And it may kind of throw you off if you're following the reader of the little tap of the wall on the outside. And that's going to invalidate his lap, and he's going to cross the start-finish line. And you see even the good ones struggle just a little bit here at this track.
And I think that may have just about done for Nathaniel Schramm in this qualifying session. No time left to fully get around and start another lap. And considering that he still has that slowdown, that'll invalidate both of these laps. So Nathaniel Schramm not going to be able to challenge Kane Halliburton for the pole. And if there is a championship battle of note between those racers, that would be huge. Jason Green putting in a good performance right now here in qualifying, currently slotted in 4th. Alexander Gorson, though, talk about a standout performance. He's put in some very good runs in that Spec 2 category throughout this championship, currently qualified in 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see the cream rising to the top here at one of the more difficult tracks we're going to visit. Obviously, Halliburton and Schramm separated by 10 points in the championship standings, and they're the top 2 on the board. So it's going to be a nice head-to-head battle. And Alexander Gorson leading Spec 2, running in 3rd, has got a nice clearance back to Lukanoff, who's 2nd in Spec 2. Is our Formula Ford champion for Spec 2 this year, or this season. And so he's got his work cut out for him. But I think I was looking at this the other day, Ron. So we were talking about this being the 10th anniversary of the Spec Racer Weekend Warriors. Well, once again, I'll reiterate what you said. Very happy to have Metro Auto Rebuild on board for this season. It's been a big help for us, and we really appreciate the sponsorship. But so in January will be my third 3-year anniversary of covering this series, both here and at another location. And I think this is the closest points battle going into the final race that I can remember in that 3-year time frame.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some of the championship battles that I've gotten the opportunity to cover. It's mainly been on the Formula V side of things where those races are incredibly close. Here, however, it's just been so up and down throughout this championship that we've never really been able to pin exactly who's going to be able to do well throughout the season. Just want to quickly run down this because I always keep track of the other winners and all this stuff. As much as it may seem like a story of dominance, want to kind of keep in the little advisory bit of information that Kane Halliburton hasn't showed up to every single race. The ones that he has shown up, though, he has been quick. Just to go through the race winners throughout the season in the Spec 1 category, that is. Round 1, Alton Park, Kane Halliburton. Round 2, Tsukuba, Nathaniel Schramm. Round 3, Sebring, Felix Samoas. Round 4 and 5 at Watkins Glen and Interlagos, along with actually the Chicago Street Course and the race at VIR after that, was actually a 4-race win streak for Kane Halliburton that Then Felix Samoa's won at Imola. Then it was Trent Kramer at Road America. And last time out, Kane Halliburton won in dominating fashion at Jerez last time out. I think the main thing that Kane Halliburton has going for him is that even though he hasn't shown up to all of the races, the ones that he has shown up at, he has either won or finished very well at. So I think in terms of the drop rounds, he has got a lot more going for him than Nathaniel Schramm does, who has been very good. It's just been a bit harder to come by in terms of wins for him.
Yeah, not a lot of wins, but he's been up there week in and week out, and that is a recipe for success. You don't have to win every race, but if you're finishing on the podium in every race, you've got a good opportunity to compete for the championship, and that's what Schramm's done this season. So yeah, it's kind of a tale of two different styles there, with Halliburton winning a lot, but not here all the time, and then Schramm just being consistent. It's came down to the last race here with a 10-point gap between the two drivers, and so obviously I think Schramm needs to win the race and probably needs a little bit of help in order to just jump that gap.
Yeah, so I think there's going to have to be a major swing here. So we're going to have to see how things work out in this event. But here we go. For one final time, we have a starting grid to take a look at here in the season, a short pace lap. So we may have to go through this a little bit quick. Here it is. Kane Halliburton going to start this race from the pole position. Nathaniel Schramm going to join him on the front row. Alexander Gorson going to be starting this race in third. A brilliant result for your Spec 2 driver. In fact, that is the second highest starting spot that we've had thus far this season, actually tied for the top spot with himself back in round number 2 at Tsukuba, and also Lukanov's run at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks after that. Jason Green will join him on the second row, with Felix Samoa's in 5th. Dmitry Lukanov, speak of him, slotted in 6th. Antonio Reese, your Masters pole sitter, will start in P7. Alongside him will be Dirk Braun. Brian Lockwood will start this race in 9th, with Scott Russell completing her top 10.
Yeah, Kevin Adrian is in P11. Philip Berry starts outside in P12. Chris Murakami, Andre Svoboda, 13th and 14th. Yang Shilin in 15th. Jason Dunnington in 16th. Aaron Nam starts in 17th. Hugh Simpkins starting in 18th. Rich Meesters in 19th. Dan Wood starts in P20. Jorg Monty starting in 21st. Josh Justice starts in P22. Steve Saunders starts in 23rd. Matt Thompson starting in P24. As we scroll the screen to get to Jeffrey Atkins in P25, Chris Thorpe starting in P26, Adam Bradshaw in 27th, Edgar Santinelli 28th, Paul Jackson 29th, Brad Cathcart P30, Daniel Salmon starting in 31st, Jerome Sater starting in 32nd, Flavio Andolo starts in 33rd, Jeff Jacobson starts in 34th, Russ Telker starting in 35th, and Joaquin Osbeck starting in 36th of a 36-car grid. I don't see him out there, so he may have left the session already. We'll see if he takes the start.
Yeah, but either way, a pretty stacked grid of racers for the season finale here today at Montreal. There was a bit of confusion as to exactly where this track was going to be, where this race was going to be, I should say. The official schedule actually had Montreal as week number 2 of the official schedule, and Winton was set to be the official series season finale. But of course, with the 10th anniversary special edition race that we had right at the start of this season at Road Atlanta, had to shift the schedule around a little bit. And I kind of prefer this because I'm not too big of a fan of Winton, as I think it's a sentiment echoed by Guido in the production truck.
I mean, Winton's okay. There's some interesting things that went, but yeah, I think this is it's going to be a better race, and it's going to be more challenging for the drivers. So I'm looking forward to it, ready to get this thing started.
Yeah, about to get things up and rolling for the 11th and final round of the Spec Racer Florida Weekend Warriors season here in Season 4 of 2025, a season that's really been a bit old school in the Weekend Warriors world. We have a fantastic championship battle between a relative newcomer in the form of Nathaniel Schramm and a series veteran in the form of Kane Halliburton. The Masters category has also seen some of the Weekend Warriors best in the form of Antonio Reese and Jörg Monty duke it out for wins. Antonio is going to be starting that class from the pole. Let's see what he can do in the season finale with that pace car down pit lane. We're about to get the season finale of the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors season up and rolling. A slow run, big stacking up farther in the back. At the front, though, the green flag flies. The drivers are on their way. Kane Halliburton getting off to a flyer. Nathaniel Schramm not getting caught at nearly as bad as what happened to Dmitry Lukinov earlier in the Formula Fords, but he's still in P2. Alexander Gorson, meanwhile, holds on to that P3 spot with Jason Green right in tow. Everybody else careening their way out of turn number 2, side by side throughout a big chunk of the field. There's a good spot to try and go side by side, but he can't risk it too much, especially on cold tires.
No, absolutely not. And so far, so good. Looks like everybody got off to a pretty good start. We'll say that Ozbek did not take the start, and Aeronav did not take the start. So Aero deciding he's not going to participate today. So we've 34 cars on track, and we've got a couple of short movers here and there. But overall, pretty standard, start for everybody here. Everybody got away cleanly, and we're already seeing a foul up at the front.
Yeah, so up at the front of the field, Kane Halliburton doing everything that he needed to do at the start of this race to hold on to that top spot. I think I just saw a blinker ad heading out of turn number 8 and 9. That kind of clunky chicane, it usually has a bit of runoff area on the outside. It was briefly all asphalt runoff area on the outside there, but I think they added in a gravel trap once again. This version of the track, though, old school runoff area and old school tension around this circuit as well. Saw a big lockup heading off into the hairpin. Not sure who that was, but a big moment potentially may have been Daniel Salmon running off the circuit down to that part of the racetrack at the front, though. It's still Halliburton over Schramm. The top 9 are running in the exact same spot that they started in, and I have a feeling that will change rather quickly.
Yeah, and just to go back to Salmon, that was he was up 9 positions since the start of the race, but that actually cost him a spot with that lockup. So he's only up 8, but still the hard charger so far. But we've got Ondelo and Telker in the back. Oh, we got a black flag for Josh Justice. So that's interesting. He's in probably at the start is what we're hearing. So maybe a passing before the start finish line. He is already in the pits, and he's already, I think that's a stop go. So or at least nothing else, that's a fast repair. So he's already on his way back out. And I did see Murakami also with a slowdown, so that's going to cost him a position.
Thinking about the start of this race, I saw Josh Justice kind of jump out of line as a result of that stack up, and can't necessarily blame him. I think he got hit in all of that as well. So really nothing that he could have done to avoid that incident taking place. But either way, it's a big kick in the shins for Justice early. A real-life spec racer, Ford racer, always shows prowess in Weekend Warriors competition. But sadly for him, things not going to go well for him here today, as he's all the way at the back of the pack currently, and will have to fight back in potentially a losing effort to try and make up as many spots that he can.
Yeah, he's going to have to fight from the back, but luckily that was off. I'm going to guess it looks like a stop go, but maybe it was a stop. He did take his fast repair, so if it's a stop go or if it's a drive through, I don't think he can take any service. I have to watch as we're going 3 wide. Oh, little contact there. That was I think Adam Bradshaw could not see who the other car was. Might have been Ondelo or Paul Jackson as well in that battle there through the hairpin. That's going to cost, as you see the damage back there on Bradshaw's car. That is a very difficult place to it's a great place to try and make a move, but it's still also very difficult to get that car wrapped around the corner.
Two things at that moment proved hang down to the hairpin. Number one, the braking zone of the hairpin probably going to be deadly throughout this race. And number two, if I ever were to get at broadcasting, I would not be able to pursue a career as an opera singer. Yanxi Lin, kind of the first driver out of that top 9 pack. As you can see, a 1.7 second gap grow. And he is a Pied Piper of this small little 4-car train that's nowhere near as big compared to the battling up the front. Halliburton still in front of Schramm, still in front of Gorson. This top 8 now running in the same spot that they started in. Kevin Adrian making up some moves, and Yanxi Lin making up some moves as well. Second time I've seen Yanxi today, in fact. He wasn't on track for the Formula Fords. He's, of course, on track here for the Spec Racer Fords. I saw him in the chat for the Brit Car 24 little bit earlier on today, and I didn't pay attention to that, but I did notice him there in the YouTube chat as that stream was switching off to part number 3. Now, see Yanshi occasionally show up here on the racetrack. Whenever he does, he's either going to be a hard charger or a race win contender. It's one of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Yanshi, obviously a past runoffs champion in multiple cars, so absolutely knows how to wheel these spec racers. And yeah, he'll always be working his way up in the field, or at least are starting from the front, depending on how soon he gets in there. So we'll keep an eye on him as we see Zippy Salmon's up 11 positions, Telker up 10. So got a couple of Chargers in the back that are working their way up through the field. You know, so far, still pretty clean. Only a couple incidents that we saw so far. Everybody's still in this fight.
Yeah, so at the front of the field, everybody running off into the sunset. Drivers behind, though, cutting their way through the field like a hot knife through butter, even though the slowdowns are coming out in full effect. A slowdown for Scott Russell and Jason Dunnington down in pit lane in the 088 car. Not sure exactly what may have caused that to take place. As we take a look at a replay of the moment involving Scott Russell that sent him off the circuit, it's down into the chicane. There's two bits of drama for that chicane. It's either going to be the wall on the outside or the runoff area on the inside. You're either going to end your race with a collision or ruin your race with a slowdown.
Yeah, it's either going to be a ricochet or a jump, depending on which side of the road you end up on. But yeah, so far everything pretty much stand pat up front. Gap is starting to close a little bit back to Yangshi Lin. I think that gap will continue to close as these cars get a little more racy up front. I think we're starting to get into that fuel save mode. So these cars aren't really pushing the pace very much. Everybody's content to stay where they are and just run some laps. But that's going to give that pack that second pack a chance to maybe gain a few seconds, a few tenths, if nothing else, and try and work their way back up to the back of this group.
Yeah, so plenty of opportunities left for these racers. We're going to ignore that voice crack as I draw attention to it. Kane Halliburton still holding on to that top spot. Currently, Nathaniel Schramm in P2. With the close gap, we're just going to assume that's pretty much a matter of who finishes in front of who, although I believe with drop rounds and all that stuff, it would probably benefit Kane Halliburton. But either way, you don't want to have to worry about doing mathematical equations behind the wheel. It's tricky enough for me to do that in the commentary booth, let alone for these racers to do that as they battle with each other. So I think Halliburton has one goal and one goal alone, and that is to win. And he has done that a frightening amount this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to be the first car across and taking the checkered flag as we see the fastest lap now. Dirk Braun, this 8th in that line with a very, very quick lap as we see Sater battling. Oh, and they just got a little bit wide there, tried to correct it, and the car behind could not get it stopped, obviously, with the advanced air conditioning package. Although I don't think December in Montreal, you're probably going to need that. But nevertheless, there is a car that was missing its front scoop or front body work. So it was Paul Jackson's, what I'm hearing. So thank you, Guido, as we've got this battle here. This is, I guess, kind of the third group led by Jorg Monty with Scott Russell, Phil Berry, Svoboda, Steve Saunders, and Dan Wood. They're all, kind of stuck together. And so they'll be working their way around too. And knowing Jorg the way that I do, he's not fuel saving. He's trying to go all out. So let's see if they can make up some of that 5 seconds there behind Rich Meesters.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, kind of talking about the weather and how cool it is in Montreal in early December. In sim right now, the current ambient temperature is about 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and the track temperature is 67. Now, that is as low as it goes on iRacing. You cannot get any colder than that. Not have a matter of principle. That's a matter of they do not code racetracks to be any cooler, because I know for Indy 500 practice, if it's ever below 50 degrees, they just cancel all track activities, because at that point you're pretty much running on a slip and slide. I remember in my karting days running on days where it was 40 degrees, and I had about as much grip as a Sphinx would have in a bathtub full of olive oil. Actually, it is a lot warmer in sim than it is in real life in Montreal. 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I say that as somebody who loves the cold. Burr.
But you said 15 Fahrenheit, and I looked down at mine, and it's 11 Celsius here in Birmingham, Alabama. So a little bit different, as it's around 50 degrees Fahrenheit here. But still, I wouldn't want to be out in an open cockpit car racing in it for sure.
Yeah, be quite chilly. As hearing that there's a black flag in the air. I was hearing that was from. You said it was from Sater. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, fortunate moment for that driver. Currently slotted in P34 at the moment in the 863 entry. So right now with the other graphics, with so many cars out there on the racetrack, they're just out of the frame at the moment. Unfortunate for the American. Has Jerome Sater run with us before? I don't recognize that name. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's running.
Okay. Guido filling in the information in the production truck as your forgetful host forgets everything that he says on the air. I have good reason. I shred all the files in my brain of some of the stuff that I say. I think I made a joke about Jerome Sater being sadder after a moment a couple of weeks ago. So
I think he's in
not my brightest
right
moment.
now. So it's we're kind of used to it, I think, at this point. But yeah, he's in the pits now, not having a great race. Obviously, this is a very difficult race. This was Guido now lodging complaints. Take it up with HR, Guido. I don't want to hear it. We're doing a race.
Yeah.
As we're on board here with Dirk Braun in the back of this pack, this lead group. Which is still 9 cars. Yangshi Lin is trying to close the gap ever so slightly. It's still around 2 seconds, though. So not able to quite close it up. I think he's waiting for these guys up front to start getting racy and start running some side-by-side corners. That'll bring them all back together very, very quickly. But I think everybody, once again, is just content to run in line and just click off some laps as we get toward the halfway point of this race, and we can start thinking about doing our pit stops.
Yeah, certainly the pit stops, and when we talk about this strategy, it's always going to throw a big wrench in the works. I think that advantage really falls into Kane Halliburton's lap. He's done so many off-the-wall strategies that have just worked. They've just worked to a treat. I would not be too shocked if that's a similar fate that we have here in this race. Do want to briefly draw attention as the side-by-side racing really starting to get frenetic in this train of cars up the front of the field with more drivers pulling out to try and get some moves done. Once we take a look at this replay, I wanted to point out an oddity that we've got going on here at the present moment. That's Jason Dunnington. Big moment heading down into the chicane. That's off through turns number 3 and 4. Takes the off-track line. I thought that was just going to see him auger straight into the tire barrier, but thankfully for him, it did not end that way, as now we're going to have a swap-a-roo potentially. Daniel Salmon swapping ends there. That's heading off, I believe, through the 8 and 9 chicane. Spins on exit. Really spun as soon as he got to the turn, and that was a pretty dramatic way for his race to go, as we cut away from the replay right at the right time, because Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton wrestling battling. That's the worst thing about it. You can never predict when those racers are finally going to start to squabble up. There was the replay of the spin from Salmon, this time riding on board with him. But things have broken out into full-on chaos in this battle up at the front. Not only was Kane Halliburton and Nathaniel Schramm battling, then we had a battle with Alexander Gorson and Felix Samoas, and Jason Green started to battle as well. Felix has actually been able to leapfrog in front. That's a first driver inside the top 8 to swap spots.
Yeah, and you mentioned the cars up front starting to do battle, and that gap that Yangshi Lin had of about 2 seconds is now 8 tenths. So that is exactly what the doctor ordered for Mr. Lin and Mr. Lockwood, as they've now joined this group. So now we're up to 11 cars at this front pack, and that gap is still closing, as now Yangshi is fully in the slipstream. We get a replay here. This is Edgar Sancinelli, Frio Sport driver, working his way around through turn 2 and just pushing wide, just too much throttle. And you see the understeer in these cars on throttle, and just pushes right out into the wall. I did not think about that in turn 2, but I was thinking more about the hairpin, but obviously same principle applies.
Yeah, same point
now with Murakami. So, yep. And just too much speed through there, losing the rear as he's trying to get the car turned in that second section. But then same thing that happened to Zippy Salmon a little bit earlier in that turn 8 and 9 complex. Just carrying too much speed. Car over-rotated and could not catch it.
So now, before a driver gets speared off the racetrack because an Aaron Montrealer threw a bagel at one of the drivers, I do want to draw attention to a train that we have going on with Spec 2 racers. Now, it's not a full train because they are broken up a little bit. It's a train of about 6 Spec 2 racers from 15th through the 20th. As hearing about an incident here, we're jumping to some replays. Josh Justice went off the racetrack already in this race. He had a penalty, went off the track again through turn number 8 and 9, heading down to the hairpin currently. I have a bad feeling about this as he runs wide through the turn. Oh no, Salmon sending a driver off into a spin, and Josh Justice. That was some major. That was the, like, I'm not really sure the best way I can sum that up.
ESP. He just went deep into the braking zone there in the hairpin and ran the car very wide. Meantime, Chris Murakami and Zippy Salmon come into the hairpin through the right line, and then Chris losing the rear of the car or getting a little assistance of losing the rear of the car. Turn sideways, Salmon has to check up, and just able to hang on to that spot.
Yeah, and I will say this, and this is honest, I've never before. That was just an odd series of events. Jason Green, he had a bad moment heading off through turn number 8 and 9. I believe he picked up a slowdown. He's been shuffled back down to 11th, and right behind him, Rich Meesters with a slowdown too. Saw some big lockups heading down to the hairpin. I was fully expecting to see a Spec racing forward with a missing front nose cone. But this battling up the front is really starting to get intense, whether it be Kane Halliburton and Nathaniel Schramm briefly swapping spots. Jason Green picking up the slowdown and sending him all the way back to the back of the pack, and at risk now of losing the draft too. Everybody's starting to get a bit more froggy as Dirk Braun and Kevin Adrian start to duke it out too.
Yeah, you see the side-by-side Dirk Braun, Kevin Adrian working their way through, and a little wide there by Dirk, and that's going to give Yongshi Lin the run on the inside. Already up into the top 10. Now he's going to take over that 8th position, and Antonio Reed's going to try and come with him on that inside coming into turn 1 and 2. And it's going to go side by side, and they're going to get through there. Oh, that was very close. Great catch by Antonio there as Dirk leaned on him coming through that turn 2 section, and able to catch the car and keep it headed the right direction. So great bit of driving by all those guys.
So a lot of evasive maneuvers having to be taken here. Drivers going side by side and either having to advise a little bit of caution or just drama taking place all around this racetrack. I don't think there are many battles that haven't been affected by some sort of moment. You know, I wasn't sure what kind of style of racing we would expect here at Montreal. It looks like a little bit of teamwork is going to make the dream work for these racers up towards the front, as even your main championship rivals of Kane Halliburton and Nathaniel Schramm seem to be working together. But outside that, everybody seems like they're seeing the red mist here in Montreal. I mean, I know the French Canadians are usually known for being a bit more passionate, but even the racing out there on the racetrack seems a bit more passionate.
Yeah, it does indeed, as we see now the battle here with Dirk Braun over Antonio Reese, getting that past May, going down into the hairpin. He's going to take that position back, move back up into 9th. As we see now, we've got a 6-car group up front, and then the gap about 1.6 back to Kevin Adrian in 7th. As now we've got the battle for the lead. Are we going to have somebody come into the pits, or are we going to have this is just a drag race going down into the final chicane? No, it's just a drag race into the chicane. I think Halliburton hangs on. I think maybe Schramm got a good run down that straightaway, just couldn't do anything with it, but wanted to get out from behind. As I think that they've been doing a little bit of bump drafting, but decided not to do it that time as we're going board here with Jeff Jacobson. Running in 29th, so not having the greatest day as we're working way down into 1 and then through 1 into 2, and just locks it up as he carries a little bit too much speed. Couldn't get the car to rotate and locks it up into the grass and is able to recover it with no other damage.
As we take a look at a replay here, this is Adkins heading his way down into turn number 10, the hairpin on this racetrack, and he loops it around. Flavio Andelo nearly got a taste of what happened to Felix Samoas 1 week ago at Jerez, when Andelo actually spun heading out of turn number 2, and then nothing that he could have done. And then Felix Samoas just arrived at the scene of that accident and caused a pretty sickening collision there. So it would have been a bit of a spook for the both of them involved in that moment. But thankfully, they got away mostly scot-free. So here's Sipkins with a moment that's off through 8 and 9. It's a half spin, so it's nowhere near as catastrophic as the moments we've seen thus far, as he decided, you know what, I've had it with Montreal. I'm not even gonna finish that joke because we have got such insane racing up at the front. I feel like if I leave any moment, it's all gonna break out here. 2x2 contact made tied to side and door to door between Samoas and Halliburton. Gonna allow Nathaniel Schramm to drive off into the sunset as that's a 2x2 pack right in tow.
Yeah, nice move by Schramm to take that position. Samoa's came with him. So now the battle behind is going to allow Schramm a chance to just maybe eke out a little bit. He's going to have to get a lot, though, because I think this pack tightens back up as soon as they get on the straightaway. You see him already getting back in line. I see somebody drop up. Yep, that was Lukanoff into the pits. So Lukanoff into the pits. He's going to be the first guy to jump out of that lead pack, come down pit lane at the halfway point of the race. So he's splitting the race in half. He's going to come in and get his fuel done. And then as well as Telker. Telker in the pits. He crashed. I'm sorry. Telker with a crash. My mistake. He's towing now. So I saw that. So now Svoboda and Wood also in the pits. With their pit stop, so you see a few cars jumping out. I don't think the undercut's necessarily going to work here.
Oh, and that's a huge moment.
Lockwood, yeah, and I think everybody gets through, and he tows. He just said, "I got to get off the track." Nicely done. Once he got it stopped, he reset back to the pits. Did not look like he had any help. Could not see it very clearly. Maybe we can get a replay and just take a look as we're going to get on board here with Lockwood, working their way through the chicane. And you see a little bit of contact there with the wall from Gorse, and that's going to slow his momentum. And that's going to let Lockwood, and just not enough room on the outside. You see the car just couldn't hold the corner at that speed on that line out in the kind of the dirty part of the track and up into the Armco, and loses the car, and he quickly tows to get out of the way.
Oh, and that was a code brand moment, even from my perspective in the broadcast booth. I don't know what happened to my voice when that spin happened, but I know what happened out there on the road. Contact made with the fence. That section of racetrack here at Montreal is a bit of a selling point and a very big source of contention of this track. Many drivers have had some pretty wild rides, as that's Kane Halliburton diving down into pit lane. That looked rather quick on entry. Hopefully he got away with that scot-free without any sort of pit lane speeding infraction. Looks like he got away with that just fine. Not seeing any black flag, although I will be keeping a close eye on that. Alexander Gorson also with the slowdown. But yeah, the section really from the chicane of 3 and 4 through to the exit of the chicane of 6 and 7. Very odd series of racetrack. And the turn 5 sweeper that we saw that moment go on there with Lockwood, a lot of drivers have had some pretty wild rides there. It was Brendan Hartley and Lance Stroll back in 2018 had a pretty wild moment there. The barriers have been changed quite significantly. They have a NASCAR-style safer barrier on that wall now, which is kind of funny considering when NASCAR was running here, that is when this scan was done, and there was no safer barrier to be found. Funny how that works.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. And you could just said Lance Stroll and issues and any track name, and it wouldn't have mattered, and we would have all known. Anyway, so back to the race we're watching as we're on board here with Kevin Adrian running in P5, having a good run, up 6 positions. Look, Yancey Lynn up to P3, up 12 spots. Samoa's leading. Schramm still sitting there in second. And I was going to say earlier, before we started seeing the incidents happening, I don't know that this is a track I would want to try and do an undercut. So I don't know if jumping out of line where Halliburton was and trying to work through the field, even though he's only down in 13th, there are some cars that are going to be, I think, fast enough that it's going to make it very difficult to pass, even for a quality driver like Halliburton. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it's I'm not sure I'd want to be trying to work my way up through the field at this track.
We've got more drivers coming down pit lane. Yanchi Lin and Antonio Reese, the latest to break away. Just to wrap up on the storyline that I raised a lap ago, Kane Halliburton was able to avoid a black flag, so no harm, no foul there for the driver. The number 12 car exited out of the pit lane in P13 at the current moment, kind of running all by himself, even more so since Steve Saunders right in front of him has now come down pit lane himself. So waiting to see a vast majority of the field still yet to come down pit lane, but expecting to see drama regardless, as Kane Halliburton will actually be able to jump in front of both Lynn and Reese respectively. As here's a moment with Phil Berry. I think something may have gone on with the Cookie Monster car. Did the Cookie Monster take a bite out of the racetrack, or did the racetrack take a bite out of the Cookie Monster? I have a feeling it's the latter. It is the latter.
Yeah, just a little spin there in the hairpin and just losing the rear, taking too much speed through. Obviously, no contact with anybody. Was able to get the car rejoined. Obviously, lost himself a few seconds on track. So he'll continue on. And yeah, this is not the track the Cookie Monster needs to be overeating at for sure. I think that would be very detrimental. We got a spin there right up under the camera. Who was that?
I don't know who that was. That was
I mean, we were watching that the exit out of that chicane, and all I saw was smoke at the bottom of the screen. I couldn't really tell who it was. Maybe Saunders, or maybe Rich Meesters as well. Couldn't, like I said, it was right behind this group. If we're still watching this group, so it was right behind. So it might have been Rich Meesters that maybe lost the car through there. As now Schramm coming into the pits out of the lead, he's going to give that up and come in as we got a whole host of cars coming in.
Yeah, so everybody deciding to break away from the race and come down pit lane at the moment. This is going to be the crunch time for all of these competitors. Want to maximize the run through pit lane. Make sure you make as few mistakes as possible. Top two now of Felix Samoza and Jason Green got to come down pit lane themselves. But now we got to keep our eyes on Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton, the two main title rivals in the Spec 1 category. Who's going to jump out in front of who? Scott Russell will jump in front of all of them as he stays at. And Kane Halliburton got to jump in front too. The gap will close up a little bit with that shortened run, shortcutting your way through turn number 1. So they're not going to be too far apart, only about 6 tenths of a second, but compared to everybody else, they are well out in front.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big gap back to Lukanov, who's 5 seconds behind Schramm. But yeah, Schramm came out right behind Halliburton and well in draft range. So that's going to be a battle for the final 14 minutes of the race. As we're here with Yongshin, Antonio Reese, P7 and 8. They're about a second and a half behind Lukanov, so they can work together. They can get up to the back of Lukanov and make that a 3-car group, but it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get back up to catch Schramm and Halliburton. So that might be a 2-car battle, unless either Samoas or Green comes up with a heater coming through the pits and really undercuts their fuel. But it's going to be difficult. 12.6 for Halliburton, 13.1 for Schramm for their stoppage times. Far and away faster than everybody else. And so they're, at least a half a lap of fuel less than the rest of the group. Samoa's is in the pits now. Green coming into the pits now. So the final two of the front runners, I think the only one left, is Scott Russell and Flavio Andolo, who is, black flag for Felix. So speeding on pit entry, that's going to take him out of the competition for the race victory. Scott Russell coming into the pits for his stop. You see Green in the pits now. Halliburton and Schramm coming by. Jason would have to just really undercut the fuel to get up there with these guys. So I don't think he's going to be able to stay with them. Obviously, Samoa's going to have to take his penalty. As though the gap back to Lukanov is 5.5 seconds, and the Yongshin Antonio Reese are gaining on them very quickly as Green is now jumping out into that group as well.
Very unfortunate to see the black flag for Felix Samoas. And I do want to touch on something that happened a couple of minutes ago, the spin of the unidentified car. I looked through, and that was Rich Meesters in the 964 who spun all through that part of the racetrack. So your initial intuition was correct there, Charles. It's I think it had to have been a half spin because with the area that he spun, he probably smacked the wall in the process of all that and kept it rolling. Certainly not without damage, though.
Yeah, it once again, it was just kind of off the screen. Couldn't really see it. I just saw the smoke rising up from the bottom of the screen. I was like, okay, somebody did something. So Rich Meester's obviously still running in P10, so he's still having himself quite a day. having a good race, and he's got Monty in tow there. So that's a battle that will continue for the remainder of the race. So with a chance to, both those guys are in the Masters podium position. So they're both having really good days, and Rich can end up having a good result here as Jorg now makes his way to the inside and gets through. So that's going to drop Meesters down to 11th, and then P3 in Masters. And then Jorg is up to P10 and second in Masters. And there's our Masters leader, Antonio Reese, running in sixth, battling with Jason Green.
Yeah, so now with the vast majority of the pit stops taken care of throughout the field, I think everybody has now come into pit lane, albeit some may have to come in after some pit stops a bit earlier on in this race. Now we've got the true representation of how things are going to shake out in these battles. We'll say one driver who's worked a strategy masterclass just quietly under our nose is Dmitry Lukanov, who's now leading in Spec 2. Alexander Gorson, meanwhile, things have gone rather sourly for him. Not sure exactly how he managed to drop down to P7, but he's still on track for a championship in Spec 2. That's really what matters at the end of the day. So I don't think he's going to be too pressed about a P7.
Yeah, he lost 2 seconds on pit road. So that had something to do with it. I guess he was just a little tentative on entry. It cost him a few tenths, those hidden tenths that we talk about when you're talking about pit stops. You're trying to maximize your speed before you get to the cones, and then try to get as quick as exit as possible. So that's cost him a couple of seconds. So that's kind of taken him out of that battle for the Masters win. But I think he was still comfortably ahead in the championship. So I think he's in a good spot as we're going to get a replay here with Chris Murakami and Zippy Salmon as they're working their way throughout into the final chicane. And Chris taking, way too much of the inside corner.
Oh!
And that's it. That's pretty much it for Chris, and he's going to tow back. But you saw the car, all four wheels in the air as he came across that inside curb. And obviously no way to get the car slow down when you can't, the wheels aren't touching the ground. So into the outside wall he goes, and then immediately turns to the inside wall and removes the rest of the front end. So that's going to be day done for Mr. Murakami.
See, now I'm going to ask, do we mark that up as a win for the Wall of Champions or the inside wall? Which one took or the curbs? Or which one of the curbs and which one of the walls can take advantage and take responsibility for that moment? That is a real question.
We might have to treat it like hockey and give somebody the goal and give 2 assists. We are in Canada after all.
Gotcha. That does make sense. It's funny about that. So I sporadically tune into some Flyers games. I don't really pay attention too much to hockey. It's for me, my winter sport of choice is curling, which, yes, I am a very interesting individual, you can tell. So I tune into hockey, and one of our players with the Flyers scored. It was their 100th goal and their 200th point at the exact same time. And I was like, how do you do that? I didn't know. And then I was like, oh, yeah, so if you get an assist, you get marked with scoring the point as well. I didn't know that for the longest time until my dad specified it at the dinner table while him and I were eating frozen pizza. So the more you know, I guess. Kane Halliburton and Nathaniel Schramm in this breakaway are looking to battle here soon. Now, here's the question. If you're Kane Halliburton, how much do you force this issue? Do you want to go for all that glory, or do you want to rest on the math?
I think both these guys will try and go for the win. Obviously, I think Nate wants to be in front, and then Kane wants to give him to put the move on at the right time. Obviously, that's going to be probably on the last lap, probably going down into that last chicane where you can see some battling going on. It's I think both of them want the win, but obviously, I think that. Both of those guys being the top two, I don't think that's going to separate either one of them enough, or it's going to separate enough to give Schramm the overall championship, as we're going to get another replay here. This is Sater, and I believe that's Chris Thorpe in the 912 car as we're working our way down into the hairpin, and then Sater losing the rear, Thorpe getting by on the outside, and is able to get the car off the track and out of the way. and rejoins without further incident. So nice job there by Sater to get that cleaned up, and he can continue on with this race.
It's an unfortunate moment for him, a spin heading off through turn at number 10. I will not bear repeating the joke that I said a little while ago, for the simple sake that the one time, I think it was one of the first times I ever poked lighthearted fun, not even poked lighthearted fun, just made a pun out of a driver's name. I nearly ended up getting my ass fired off these Weekend Warriors shows, so I'll leave it be. Dmitry Lukanov, we follow him right now, currently holding on to fourth. He's second in this train with himself, Yanqi Lin, Jason Green, who has come back rather mightily after that slowdown a bit earlier, and Antonio Reese running right in tow. This is really a battle of the Titans, and if you're Dmitry Lukanov, in terms of Weekend Warriors drivers to be around, this is basically like being around the equivalent of, I don't know, we'd say like if you're around actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, insert other famous actor's name here that I cannot remember, Tom Hanks. Just this is like pretty much the Mount Rushmore of Weekend Warriors drivers here.
It really is. Obviously, some very, very talented racers up there, Yanqi, Jason, and Double Otonio. So I mean, Lukanov absolutely deserves to be up here. He's just fast, and he's faster than his iRating lets on. But he's just constantly and consistently up at the front of the pack, week in and week out. And so, he deserves to be up there. But obviously, he's got some really great drivers around him that he can watch and maybe learn a thing or two from. This could make him that much faster, which is a scary thought.
Yeah, so if you're Dmitry Lukanov, talk about being in the right kind of crowd to drive around and learn from. As much as we've talked about him a lot in the Formula Fords, I think here in these Spec Racer Fords, he's put on some good races as well. So we'll have to keep an eye to see what he may do come time for the start of season 1 of 2026, whether he may be in championship contention in these SRFs just as much as he was in the FFs this season. Taking a look now at a moment involving Steve Saunders. This is a driver of the 303 High Prix Sim Race City car, and that's a big sideways moment coming out of 1, a moment through 2, and no! 4 cars involved in that.
Yeah, he was in a train there, and just that one simple mistake, and that did damage to his car and then 3 other cars, and couldn't really tell who that was. I believe it was Scott Russell, obviously one of them, as you saw the Pop-Tart off the front. I believe that's the 257 car of Edgar Santinelli as well, and the 333 car. And that's Matt Thompson's, 2 of the Frito Sport drivers involved in this as well. As you just see, losing the front or losing the rear of the car, and there you go, off we go with that, and losing the rear of the car, and it just catches enough to send him across the track. Right into the path of all those other cars that came through.
I'm never, as long as I do these shows, I will never tire of the front clips of the Spec Racer Ford just popping off out of the blue. A big slowdown for Kane Halliburton up at the front of the field. That may settle the race for Nathaniel Schramm, and depending on how things work out, that could be a championship as well. I still think it is advantage Halliburton with the drop rounds and all that. However, that is going to be pretty big for the battle for the race lead. I think Halliburton may have just done himself not a lot of favors there.
No, that was a very long slowdown. Now, here's what we get to find out. We get to find out how much these guys were kind of conserving fuel and off their normal pace, because I was looking at their last lap. They're both in the 50.2s. The group behind, led by Yanqi Lin, was a 49.99. So those guys were a couple of tenths faster than the front 2, even before the slowdown. So, 1.7, and we're coming up to the white flag, or already taken the white flag for the lead group. So we'll see if Kane has got a little bit extra pace that he has been saving for a rainy day, which is now, as we see now, Dunnington with a black flag. That's probably going to be for incident points if I had my guess at this late stage of the race. So that's going to be, 13 incidents means drive through. Obviously, he wants to do that right now. He does not want to cross the start-finish line with that hanging over him. get that taken care of, and that way it doesn't get added as a 40-second a time penalty at the end of the race.
And the white flag is in the air for Nathaniel Schramm, on track for a victory, but I don't think it'll be enough for the championship. In the meantime, we still have this battle for the final podium spot. Yanqi Lin holds on to it presently. Dmitry Lukanov is in second of this train of cars. Your current leader in Spec 2 slotted in fourth overall. Jason Green is right behind in fifth with Antonio Reese in tow. Thought there was nearly going to be a moment involving Lukanov and Green as Jason Green got oh so close to the grass on entry, heading down into the final chicane that I thought there was going to be a collision. It has broken up this battle into less of a 4-car train and more so a 2 and 2, but I think Lukanov trying to apply that pressure as expertly as he can to Yanqi Lin, both very talented racers. I think I saw a slight little wiggle from Yanqi Lin off through the 6 and 7 chicane, may have affected his run onto this back straightaway. Also seeing a black flag from Matt Thompson right behind Jason Dunnington, so I'm not sure if either of them will be able to get that penalty taken care of before the end of this race. They're going to have that looming over their head when they come across the line, and will probably send them square to the back. I think Matt Thompson may be slowing down a bit. In fact, as here we go, side by side, Lukanov trying to sweep around the outside, heading through into the hairpin at the end of this race, not able to get that move done. Yanqi Lin shows him the door. It's still not done, though. Lukanov still sticking his hand into that door as Yanqi tries to shut it. He wants to pry it back open. He wants to try and get that P3 spot. Jason Green and Antonio Reese, meanwhile, going to squabble up for P5. Nathaniel Schramm on track for a win. Kane Halliburton on track for a championship as they are 2 by 2 in that battle for the final podium spot. Here is the checkered flag moment for Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton. To my knowledge, I believe it's the win for Schramm in this race for sure, a championship for Halliburton as there's a crash with Antonio Reese. I think Yanqi Lin got involved in that drama as well, along with Jason Green. What in the world is going on here? Pure unbridled pandemonium is breaking out with Kevin Adrian involved in that, and Antonio Reese DQ'd at the end. What in the hell happened there?
I don't know, but obviously those cars were battling pretty hard. We're going to have to get a replay to figure out what all that was about. But yeah, that changes things up just a little bit as we get the rundown and Lukanov moving to the outside, coming into that last chicane, and it's a drag race 2 by 2 coming down into the final chicane. As we say, just can't really tell there. That was happened in front, but obviously we saw the incident, the damage there between Reese and Green, but I think there was also some contact between Lin and then Yanqi Lin trying to get rejoined, and Adrian coming through and just getting all kind of screwed up. Let's see if we can get the front 2 there this time, Guido, and look at this battle between Lukanov
and Lin.
I'm sorry, Lin. Yeah, Lin just loses the car. Yeah, just all by himself, loses the car on the curbs. And here we got Adrian and Dirk Braun coming through, and just too much curb on the inside there. That causes Adrian to go into the wall. That gets Dirk Braun through. A little bit of contact there as he's just in the worst possible position. That's what a way to end the race. Otherwise, a fantastic race by those guys. But it actually, as once it all shakes out, I think that Jorg Monty got by Rich Meesters in that final run to the checkered flag to take the Masters victory. I thought Meesters had it, but Jorg just pipped him there at the end.
Whew. That's all I got to say to that.
Yeah.
That is, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, that may have been the hardest hit I've seen in a while. Okay. It should have been a preview if the fact that they were causing the crash 'em up breakfast hang down to the final chicane before the checkered flag even came out. I'm not sure if it's just the fact that we're on a street circuit, so everything looks a bit more narrow and quicker, but these are some of the hardest hits I think we've seen all season long.
I definitely think that the nature of this track definitely makes it look like it's a little more compressed, but obviously you see just this is what we do. We I think they started about 2 corners too early for the most part, but at the end of the race, the cars were jumped and we give a call to Metro Auto Rebuild to get everything ready. They got a little extra time to work on them because this is obviously the last race of the season, so they get an extra week to get everything buffed out.
Yeah, of course, this is the time to remind you all once again, probably for the final time this season, about Metro Auto Rebuild, the sponsor of this season of action. Head to MetroAutoRebuild.com for more. And hey, if you want your car on the road to be looking good, contact Metro Auto Rebuild. If you want your car in sim racing to look good, get in contact with TW3 Paints to get a nice paint scheme onto your sim racing car. Maybe not the best time to chat out as everybody is burning it down there. Look at the amount of gravel that's on the racetrack. There's more gravel on the track than there is anywhere else. I'm not really sure what to say at this point.
How about let's check our final results?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a very good idea indeed. Let's touch on those results here for the final time of what has been an amazing season of Weekend Warriors action. Momentous as well, this being the 10th anniversary season, and ends with the winner being a newer driver here in this league and the champion being a veteran. It's Nathaniel Schramm winning this race. Kane Halliburton winning the title. Dmitry Lukanov finishes in P3 at the end of this race. Jason Green, even with damage, walks away with 4th. Alexander Gorson finishes in P5. Dirk Braun, his class in 6th. Yanchi Lin drops down to 7th. And all that drama with Antonio Reese, it gave the Masters win to Jörg Mani. And with only a half a second gap between Jörg Mani and Rich Meesters at the end of this race, that spin that we saw from Meesters heading off through the 8 and 9 chicane may have very well separated him from another win in the Masters category to round off the season. But a good season for Rich Meesters when he has shown up. Looking forward to seeing what he can do next season. Kevin Adrian completes your top 10 with Daniel Wood in P11, Phil Berry in P12, Andres Svoboda in P13. It's Edgar Sancinelli in P14. In front of him will be Felix Samoas. Flavio Andelo, class right behind him, P16, with Joshua Justice and Chris Thorpe running out just about the first half of the field.
Yeah, Daniel Salmon finishes in 19th. Brad Cathcart finishes in 20th. Paul Jackson, 21st. 22nd is Jeff Jacobson. Jeffrey Atkins finishes in 23rd. Jason Dunnington with that black flag on the last lap, finishing in 24th. Antonio Reese with a DQ on the final corner, finishing in 25th. Matt Thompson also with a black flag at the end, 26th. Steve Saunders, 27th. Jerome Sater finishes in 28th. Scott Russell with a bad day all around, finishes in P29. Chris Murakami as well, finishing in 30th. Brian Lockwood, 31st. Adam Bradshaw, 32nd. Russ Telker finishing in 33rd. Hugh Simpkins finishing in 34th. Arrow Nam and Joaquin Osbeck not taking a start, so they'll be classified 35th and 36th.
And so those are your results from the final race of this Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors season, the 10th anniversary season in Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action. Now, I'm going to look through like a madman to try and see if we have any up-to-date championship points so we can get full confirmation of this before we wrap up today's broadcast. So I'm going to be frantically finding that for a couple of moments before we head off into interviews. But it's been an absolutely amazing season of Weekend Warriors action. We always enjoy covering it. I'm not sure if I can find the championship points, but even then, with the gap that was between these two, I still think it has come up the way of Kane Halliburton. But I think we'll save just mentioning that to him. I think we'll first have a chat with our race winner of Nathaniel Schramm. And Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our winner today.
Yeah, let's bring in Nate and have a quick chat. Nate Schramm, congratulations on the race win. Obviously, pretty tight in the championship battle. We won't know. We don't know because we don't keep up with the numbers. So you're either first or second for sure. But a great season, a very consistent season for you, and once again a really good race today to take the checker flag.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what the points are either. I think I was leading going into this race, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, we'll have to see how the numbers all work out. I'm just glad I think I finally figured out how to do math and got the fuel right this time. So
that's been very important for lots of folks. But yeah, you got right on the number. And once again, you gave Kane everything he could ask for and then some. And then it really just came down to And then it just came down to a mistake there by Kane in the final few laps, got himself a slowdown, and that was the difference in the race today.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with him this whole season has been a challenge. I've learned a lot following him and trying to figure out what makes him fast. Learned a lot about fuel saving, and that helped immensely for this race. So, regardless of the championship outcome, I'm extremely proud of this season. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it works out that you didn't win, that just says that's motivation for next season for sure. So Nate, obviously you've had quite the year in the Spec Racer, obviously winning the runoffs as well. So congratulations to you for all of your accomplishments. And we'll give you a chance to give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate today's victory.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's been a really fun year. First time dedicating my time towards just like a single car in series, just try to maximize it. And I got the official series win, so that's always a plus there. Got the runoffs, and this was an awesome season here in the Weekend Warriors. Just give thanks to Stevie Ray and the crew for putting on this league. It's been wonderful to be a part of. I'd like to thank my team, Three Oceans Racing, and like to thank our sponsors, Turner Machine Development and Gauger and Sons Power Systems. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to Tim and Selma, who have been rooting on in the chat on the YouTube this whole season. So it's been great to have them all aboard.
All right, there you go, Nathaniel. Thank you very much for stopping in, and once again, congratulations. And we'll see you. I'm assuming we'll see you in the virtual runoffs next week.
I'm not sure about next week, but we'll definitely be going for the next season of Weekend Warriors.
Awesome, absolutely wonderful to hear. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And that right there was Nathaniel Schramm, a race winner, and hearing as well from Guido in the production truck that it is Kane Halliburton's championship here in this season of Weekend Warriors action. So let's have a chat with what we believe is our champion of Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action, Kane Halliburton, now joining us in the commentary booth. Kane, we believe you are the champion here this season for the Spec Racer Fords. First off, how was it out there here at Montreal before we talk about the season as a whole?
It was an interesting race. I was trying to spice things up, just make it a little bit more exciting, make things happen. And it almost set up a perfect ending, but unfortunately, I lost focus, made a silly mistake.
Yeah, I think unfortunately around this racetrack, it is very easy to pick up those off-track moments, slowdowns, anything of the sort. So many a racer throughout this race get caught out by that. So P2 for you here at the end of this race, but it's a championship win for you here as well. I want to ask you about the season as a whole, because it has been a little bit spotty whenever you have been out there on the racetrack. Sometimes you show up, sometimes you don't. But when you have shown up, man, you have brought the thunder week in and week out.
Yeah, fun season overall. Usually when I race Weekend Warriors, I start from the back and skip qualifying, but I decided to take it a little bit more seriously this season and see what I could do. About time I won this championship after being in it so long. And yeah, it was a fun season.
I can imagine you're quite pleased with how things went throughout this championship, and rightfully so. Boatload of wins, of course, a championship crown at the end of it, and really just a fantastic season for you all around. Do want to ask you, though, in 1 week's time, we're going to be having the Week 13 virtual runoffs. I'll be running at Willow Springs. Are we going to be seeing you out there on the racetrack for that? And if so, what are your thoughts heading into that event?
Definitely. I almost always take part in the runoffs, and Willow Springs is one of my favorites. Unfortunately, that sentiment is not shared amongst the majority of the sim racing community, so I'm happy that it will go there and it should have good numbers, set up a fun, exciting race.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I adore that track myself, so I think we're part of a maybe exclusive club of people who are a fan of Willow Springs. But Kane, before we let you go and celebrate this championship, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs once again.
Yep, shout out to everybody at Slow Motion Broadcasting for putting on a good show. Thank you to everybody at Weekend Warriors for making the league happen. Shout out to the Almeida Racing Academy, and also my good friend Brian Lockwood, who joined today for a little bit of fun. And shout out to all of my friends and family, just for being who they are.
Well, there you go, man. Well, hey, Kane, thank you for joining us in the booth. Congratulations on the championship, and we look forward to seeing you out there at Willow Springs for the runoffs in just 1 week's time.
Yep. Thank you. See you guys.
And that right there was Kane Halliburton, your P2 finisher here at Montreal, but more importantly, your Spec 1 champion here in this season of Weekend Warriors competition. Charles, we also have Jörg Mani, our Masters winner, joining us in the booth. So I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with the man that is always festive to have a chat with, and also your Masters champion here to boot.
Exactly
but
right.
we always talk about the winners. So we'll have a chat with the winner in the Masters category and the champion as well.
Oh. Yeah, let's bring Jörg in here. Jörg, congratulations on the Masters Class victory and the Masters Class championship for season 4. So well done to you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Did I really win the Masters on this track? I'm still not sure yet. Oh, bloody hell. Okay.
Yeah.
Funny.
So if you're talking about the race itself, you beat Rich Meesters by about a half second. So you guys were battling, and it looked like that you just got him at the very end. It might have had something to do with the big wreck in the final chicane as you guys were rolling through. So talk about your race. Obviously, we saw you kind of at the edge of that first pack, but primarily in that kind of second group of cars. And this is a pretty difficult track to kind of get this car around.
Especially if you have done not one single lap this week. You're just jumping into the qualifying session and just doing some laps. That's what I have done. So, no, I'm pretty happy with my ending. I didn't expect to be there. I was even expecting to be somewhere in the fence or in the wall, but I could avoid that actually. And I even think I had not one single ink. I'm not sure. Really not sure. But it was a good race. Better than the Formula 4 before.
Yeah, indeed it was. But up 13 positions. So yeah, once again, a great victory or great class victory for you today. And we're talking about the V runoffs next week, and at Willow Springs, which I think I'm in agreement with Ron and Kane that love the track, love racing at the track. And we've had some. Obviously, we've had some pretty dynamic battles in the Spec Racer there during the course of my broadcasting that track, and you guys always put on just a fantastic show.
Yeah, we tried to do that again. I hope I can be there on the V runners. It's not 100% sure yet, but work-wise, I'm still struggling quite a lot at the moment. Way too much work, not enough time for it. But I'm trying everything I can because I like to be on the V runoffs. It's always fun to drive there.
Yeah, for sure. We seem like we usually have a pretty big grid and some people that you don't normally see out there. So I'm looking forward to it. So Jörg, thank you and congratulations once again on the race victory and the class championship. And we'll let you have a couple minutes to give any thanks that you want to hand off.
To all of you guys for the awesome job you do on broadcasting people like us, actually. Some kind of, not nerds, I would say, weird guys driving online in a car that they don't own. But it's a fun hobby, and thanks a lot again for you guys and all the drivers. It was a great season. Hey Guido, what's oops? I hear everything. No, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks to all the sponsors that we had. It was a big thank you and a big shout out for them. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jörg, and we'll see you hopefully next week. If not, we'll see you, I'm sure, for 2026 season 1.
You definitely will.
All right, Jörg, take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
And that right there was Jörg Mani, your Masters winner and champion here in the final race of this season. I kind of promised this during the Formula Ford, so there's going to be a little bit of a long kind of post-race spiel to cap off the season. Usually Stevie would come in, but I guess it's my responsibility to kind of pass along some words of friendly warning. That's not really the best way I can describe it, just some friendly words to round off this season. But Charles, I want to pass the mic off to you because it's another season that we've been covering this, another fantastic season of Weekend Warriors action, from the drivers out on the racetrack giving us some amazing racing, the community that continues to grow, and also some rather momentous occasions throughout the season. I would say season 4 of 2025 was maybe one of the best seasons of Weekend Warriors competition maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean the on-track battling is just gets better and better with some new drivers. We talked about it, how we get the new drivers that come in Spec 2, and they just look just extremely fast. And then we're getting new drivers, even in the Spec 1 category. Obviously, a very, very close battle for the championship, which I haven't seen. Once again, haven't seen that in probably 3 years. It's a lot of times it ends up being a one car leading it and just running away with it, but not so much anymore. But yeah, one of the best, if not the best, community in iRacing. This great esports group, the Weekend Warriors, just a bunch of fantastic people to work with, and a lot of really good racing to broadcast. Very fortunate to be part of it, and forward to the V runoffs next week, and 2026 cranks up, and we'll have another season of some fantastic battling.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of action, of course, in Week 13 with that big Grid V runoffs event at Willow Springs. Going to have the opening rounds of the 2026 Season 1 season before we round off 2025 and actually head off into the year of 2026. But just looking back on the year and a lot of the stuff that has gone on here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, it was the start of 1 of 2025 where it's a bit of a changing of the guard here. Adam was getting out of it. Stevie held down the fort. Of course, Mr. Joshua Wilkie came in. Him and I got started in broadcasting at the same time, got the helm of the company, and ever since then, him and I have been running off into the sunset. And to all of us, it's been a wild ride throughout 2025 for myself. Between 427 or however many shows that I've done this year, I always know that come time for Saturday and Sunday, I can return and have some nice Weekend Warriors action, not to kick back my feet and relax, but always have what feels like my personal broadcasting home. Stevie, unable to join us here in the race today, unable to join us in the booth to have a little chat. He wanted to first pass along his always speech at the end of the season, talking about everybody coming together, putting on amazing racing, and just another great season of action. Of course, we enjoyed it here in the booth, and I hope all the viewers tuning into these broadcasts all season long on Slow Motion Broadcasting have enjoyed it. This was a great year for SMB, breaking 1,000 subscribers, knocking on the door of 1,400. Just been absolutely amazing to see the Weekend Warriors and the SMB community continue to grow as 2025 has come along. Of course, this year and this season mainly saw a pretty big milestone with the 10-year Weekend Warriors anniversary, and had that wonderful special event. And I didn't really get a chance to really say it at the time, considering there was a little bit of craziness surrounding that event, but it was a fantastic treat to see all of us here at Slow Motion Broadcasting get the opportunity to be on the iRacing channel, being able to be on the commentary booth with you, Charles, on that show. Of course, having Guido doing a fantastic job as always, working on the cameras and the graphics, and also balancing. Well, he basically had to juggle chainsaws on that show with a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but he did fantastic as usual. Charles, it's always been a treat to be in the commentary booth, and to have us work together on a show on the iRacing channel was an absolute thrill for me, as I hope it was for both of you guys as well. I also want to give a reserved mention to Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who wasn't out there on the racetrack, the current owner of SMB. And when I run the show together here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and there's no other guy I'd want to be in business with, frankly, because him and I got started doing this stuff around the same time. He's a great guy, great man. I've seen his life evolve just as much as he's seen mine change, and really looking forward to what SMB has in store come time for 2026, and hoping that all of you will be around for of the journey as we continue on our adventure in the world and through the years of iRacing. But I think for one final time for the Weekend Warriors here for Season 4 of 2025, for all of us here at Slow Motion Broadcasting and the Weekend Warriors, and to all of you tuning into the action week in and week out, I can never, ever thank you enough for this. But for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working all the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you also very much for tuning into the action for the Weekend Warriors in Season 4 of 2025. And we hope to see you all for Season 1 of 2026 coming up in just 2 weeks' time.